everyone. If you are listening to this, then three things are probably true. First, you are a teacher, maybe a middle grades language arts teacher. Second, you are about to start school. And third, and thankfully, I would like to congratulate you on coming to the final stage of the grieving process. Yes, if you're listening to this, then you have come to acceptance. You're accepting the loss of summer and that whether you like it or not, school is about to start. I'm sure you know it was time if you walked down the school supply aisle at Walmart, or if you've already started having those dreaded nightmares that you come to school on the first day and fall flat on your face in front of your students, which I did on the very first day of my teaching career. Everything turned out okay, don't worry. But I want to show you how to have the best first 5 days of school ever. So let's start with some first day fails. No, this is not where I'm going to tell you all the horrible things that I've done on the first day of school, but instead let's look at 3 things that we need to avoid on the first day. The first being embarrassment. We never want embarrassment to be associated with our classroom. And I know we never do this intentionally, but what we really want to do is create a classroom where there's not even a chance that we could embarrass our students about anything. I'm sure you've been in a professional development or even a classroom yourself where the teacher or someone else embarrassed you, and it's really hard to get over it. So we want to keep that out of the first day for sure. Fear. We don't want a classroom where our students are afraid. I know we should start out the year tough and kind of, loosen up as the year goes on, but we want to avoid any students who would be afraid of us and giving them a reason to fear coming to our class. We want our classes to be a safe place. And then finally, utter boredom. You don't want to be bored, neither do your students. So let's save them the boredom and give them an alternative, which I believe there are tons of alternatives to just reading a bunch of rules on the first day or passing out textbooks or even giving them a long, boring interest inventory about their favorite fast food restaurants, okay? So if these are the things we're going to run away from, let's look at the things we're going to run towards. First day goals. BEG, remember beg every day. We're going to beg, beg, beg. We want to build relationships, establish expectations, and gather data. Building those relationships is key. It's got to be number one. The whole year is going to revolve around building relationships. So we better start on day one. Establish expectations. It's never too early for our students to learn how the class needs to run. And number 3, gather data. Again, we want to know about our students, but we want authentic data from them. We don't just want random answers they're going to put on an interest inventory or a survey or a get to know you sheet that we're probably just going to put in a file and not even read anyway, right? So if these are our first day goals, what does the first day even look like? Well, let's try this. Day 1, no talking to the whole class. It's crazy, right? So this is an idea that's been going around for a while. Teachers who are not going to give lengthy announcements or get up in front of the class and say anything on the first day. If you want to be memorable on the first day, do this. I challenge you. No talking to the whole class. Second, we're going to take attendance without calling names. Again, we want to avoid embarrassment and failure. And I believe there are alternatives to just standing up in front and going alphabetically down your roll call. Independent reading. If this is a language arts class, they better be reading on that first day. And hopefully you've got a self-selected text. You have a big old classroom library that they can go over there and choose a book that they want to read during the week and start that independent reading in flexible seating. If you have the room in your classroom to offer this, then let them choose where they sit. Again, that helps us gather data, doesn't it? Personal introductions. This is where the relationships start. Day 1, you are going to take a minute or less with each student and personally go around and introduce yourself to them, find out just a tiny bit about them. Again, this is just a little bit of small talk, but it's setting the foundation for the rest of the year, that it started with a one-on-one conversation between student and teacher. Name description is just a student's quick notes about their own name, their first name, what they like to be called, and even a little pronunciation guide to help you memorize their names for day 2. You've got to have at least 1 or more book talks on the first day. We're establishing the teacher as the reader, the teacher who educates choice. We want our students to choose books, but we need to educate that choice. We're the gatekeepers of that classroom library. So we've got to have a few book talks, and we want to end with first impressions task sheet. This is just an example of a first day assignment that you can give students that is really low-key, non-threatening, and will also make for a fun little time capsule assignment that they'll look back on the last day of school to see how things have changed for them. So when the students walk in on the first day, here's what they see. I always keep it at 4 or less tasks for them to get done as soon as they come into class. Any more than that, they're going to get lost. If it's only 1 or 2, it's not enough to keep them busy, and you want them to be busy during that passing period, don't you? So as an alternative to calling roll, I have my students find their name on a piece of paper at the front table. So they come and they see all these pieces of paper on the front table. They find the one with their name on it. Now, what if you have a student that can't find their name because they were added at the last minute, or you just didn't get a sheet with their name made on it? That's okay. You have instructions for that. Again, we're establishing the expectation that the board answers all your questions. When you walk in every single day, look at the board, look at the board, look at the board. Your students should have this automatic reaction as soon as they walk into your class that their head turns and they see the board and they know exactly what to do. We're starting that on day 1. So for those students, it says if you don't see one with your name on it, get a blank sheet of paper from the pile, write your name on it. Then number 2, browse that classroom library, choose a book that you'd like to read, get something to write with, and then have a seat anywhere in the room, except my desk. I've learned I have to write that because inevitably some very sweet, precious angel will be sitting at my desk when I walk in. And it tells them to start reading. I'll come around and meet you after attendance. You've eliminated fear, you've eliminated embarrassment. Hopefully they've chosen a book that they might like, and you've eliminated boredom. And you have students who are starting their very first day in your class engaged. They're excited, and most of all, they're comfortable because they know what to do and they know what to expect. So you're going to do a quick sweep of the room. I always walk around quickly. I've got my roll sheet in front of me, or I've got my attendance on my iPad or my phone, and I can do a quick sweep of the room and see who's here and who's not, and I get that attendance done. Why is it important to get the attendance done? Just in case you're a first-year teacher and you don't know this little jewel of information, your best friend is the attendance secretary. The person you want to impress most on the first day of school is not your student, it's the attendance secretary. You should have already brought her some flowers, some chocolates, some coffee, told her how beautiful she looks on that first day, because that day is so hectic and chaotic for her. You do not want to be on her bad list. You get that attendance done, you get it down to her quickly. Now, what are your students doing? Well, they had that book, but you also want them to jot down a little bit about their name. So this is on the board. Again, you're not making big announcements. As you're doing the quick sweep of the room to get the attendance done, you say, hey, check out the board. I have some directions for you. And so they can complete 1 through 4. Number 4 is always hilarious. I love seeing how they tell me how to pronounce their names. So then you make your personal introductions. Attendance is done, they've written something about their names, and you walk around and meet them. Maybe you talk about, you can talk about their name. Oh, I've never had a student with this name before. I love it. That's beautiful. I wonder how your parents came up with that. Or, I love this backpack that you have. I thought about getting one just like that. Or if they have a book that you've read before, talk about the books. Bond over books. Isn't that the best? So you met everyone, spent less than a minute talking to each student. Now let's kind of bookend the hour with some book talks. I always choose 3 of varying genres to talk about on the first day of school. One that's a little more sci-fi fantasy, one that's realistic, and then of course one nonfiction. So after I book talk these and I tell students in a minute or less what I liked about them, kind of the basic gist of the book, maybe I connect it to something else they probably read. Again, I choose books that are fairly new, hoping that students haven't been introduced to them before. I ask them on their sheet of paper to write down which one they'd like to read. Hello, we're gathering data, right? And then tell me why. So on their sheet of paper that I get to collect at the end of the day, not only do I have their name, and maybe even as I talk to them when we had our little one-on-one, maybe I jotted down some notes, something to remember about them in our conversation. But now I also have which of these 3 books they would like. And this helps me form that relationship with them. I can say, oh, you mentioned you like Booked. I think you would really like, and I hand them whatever particular book might suit someone who liked the realistic fiction Kwame Alexander Booked. Gathering that data is important, and it was quick and easy, and I didn't have to hand out a 20-question interest inventory, did I? So we do the book talks. Students see that I am a reader, and I'm establishing the expectation that all year I'm going to be putting books in their hands. I want them always to have a book, and I want us to be a community of readers who can recommend books to each other. Then I'll end the hour with the task sheet, first day, first impressions. On this task sheet, they're asked to reflect on, which is a great practice to have on the first day, reflect on all their classes, what they liked about them, what they might be dreading about the class, even ranking the class, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much did you like it? And then choosing a tone or mood word, which you could put these on the back of the task sheet, choosing a tone or mood word that describes how the class went that day. I'm not explaining any of this in front of them. Remember, my job is not as a transmitter of information. We want to establish the expectation that as teachers, we're not up there just to talk. We're not up there just to tell them things. Everything I'm going to teach all year long, my students could probably find on their phones faster, cheaper, quicker, smarter, right? They have information. What I'm establishing is that, hey, when I have directions to give you, they're on the board. When you have a question, number 4 there. Raise your hand. My job this year is to be a facilitator. My job is to show you how to find information. And once you do, I want to show you what to do with that information, how to think critically about it. So again, I'm not making long announcements in front of the class with, detailed directions. I simply put it on the board, quick and easy for them to read. I pass it out. And then I walk around and I start gathering even more data just by looking at students' handwriting. Look at the vocabulary they use as they're completing their task sheet. You can gather a lot of data about the students. The end of the hour can be a little hectic for students. They're trying to figure out where to go and what to do. So I always have 3 quick directions on the board of what they're supposed to do before they leave. Turn in their paper to the black tray. I got a little picture there because they're new to this classroom. They may not know what I mean when I say the black tray at the front. Get a supply list and return your library book where you found it. I know we want students to be reading at home, but this first week it's kind of tough to keep track of library books and make sure they're always in the right place and that we know which books are ours or another teacher's, and students are shuffling around. So on that first day, I asked them to just return it where they found it, and they can eagerly await reading it the next day. So, end of day 1. Did we build relationships? Absolutely. A one-on-one conversation with each student. How valuable is that? Number 2, did we establish expectations? You bet we did. Students know that in this class, we are readers, and I expect everyone to read. We read in a comfortable place where we can enjoy our book. We've established the expectation that I'm not one who gets up in front of class and just gives you long directions and you have to listen to every word I say. We established the expectation that you take personal responsibility for what's on the board and you get it done. And we also established that in this classroom, as students, you have responsibilities and that I expect you to get those done. We've done that by giving them assignment that we said was due the next day. So again, we're establishing those expectations. And finally, did we gather some data? Yes, we did. Not just about your students' names, but you had that conversation with them and you hopefully learned something about them. Again, we're making those conversations focused on the student. We know which of those 3 books they would like, so we kind of have an idea of what genres they're into. And just by walking around when they were doing their task sheet, we gathered some data about how they go about completing assignments. We did all 3 of these. Our kids were not bored. Our kids were not embarrassed. Our kids were not scared. What a great first day. All right, we've wrapped up day 1. We're ready for day 2. I'll see you there.